Hello, everyone. Welcome to the All Day Football Show. I'm your host, Jackson Kellogg, and today we're getting into Game Picks Week 17, the final week of the regular season. Can't wait to get into the playoffs. Let's jump right into this. Last week I mixed Game Picks with Power Rankings due to Christmas. I had a hectic time. Didn't have time to do two separate things, as you saw. If you want to go back and watch that, you can find that in the history of my videos. So the last 2 weeks, so week 15 games I picked, I went 9-7, and then last week I went 11-5. So it puts my total season record at 150 picks correct, 89 wrong, and as always, the one Bengals-Eagles tie. So upset win of the week goes to the Jets for having 2 straight weeks of upset victories, once against the Rams, the next against the Browns. Not surprised if the week goes to the Packers for their dominant win over the Tennessee Titans. So getting into the picks, Bengals versus Ravens. Bengals are on a couple game win streak as they beat the Steelers and then went on to beat the Texans. Ravens are trying to secure a playoff spot. If they win, they're in. If they lose, they have to wait for the other matchups. I do think the Ravens win. The Ravens have more to play for, and the Ravens are the more talented team here. As long as they don't trip over themselves, this should be a fairly easy win for them. Steelers-Browns. This is going to be one of the most fun games of the day. The Steelers are playing without Ben Roethlisberger, T.J. Watt, Cameron Hayward, and Marquise Pouncey, 4 elite players on the Steelers team. And the Browns are bringing back their entire receiving core, which they're going to need against this Browns defense. I do think the Browns win. With the Browns winning, that would also secure them a spot in the playoffs. If the Browns don't win, then they're going to have to deal with a lot of other matchups, hoping they go in their favor due to the Browns' loss last week to the Jets. Dolphins-Bills. The Dolphins coming off of a win against the Raiders, in which they won on some fits of magic. The Bills coming off of a absolute can opening of just craziness on the Patriots, absolutely destroying them. So because of that, I give the win to the Bills, as the Dolphins are without Ryan Fitzpatrick in this game, so he can't come in and do some fourth quarter magic, meaning Tua Tagovailoa is going to have to play a full 4 quarters. Let's see if he can do it against one of the best teams in the league, which I don't think is going to go well. Patriots-Jets. I really wanted to pick the Jets in this one. I picked the Patriots, but don't be surprised if the Jets win. We'll go with that, because the Jets have beaten 2 very good opponents these last 2 weeks, surprisingly. And then the Patriots, on the other hand, have just been destroyed by their other division opponents. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Patriots get destroyed here, honestly, because the offense is just absolutely terrible. The Jets don't have to do much on that front, and the Patriots have just been rotating so many young players on the defense, it's not even funny. So, yeah, I got the Patriots winning, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Jets take it. Jaguars-Colts. The last time these two teams met was in Week 1, where the Jaguars won, and the Jaguars have not won since. The Colts are playing for the playoffs. If they win, they're in. They lose, they gotta leave it up to other teams. There's a 5-way tie of 10-5 teams right now, and one of them is not gonna make it. So I do think the Colts make it, because I think they're playing the Jaguars. The Jaguars are starting Mike Glennon, which means they're kind of throwing in the towel on the season. So Jaguars are good with their with their first overall pick, which means Trevor Lawrence. By the way, crazy games last night between the Clemson Ohio State one. That was shocking. The fact that Justin Fields did that. I'm still a little sketchy on how Justin Fields will do in the NFL, because he is from Ohio State, but And then Alabama trounced Notre Dame. Anyway, that was just a quick detour. Back on with the picks. As we have Titans, Texans. Titans got manhandled by the Packers last week, and the Texans lost a close one to the woeful Bengals. So, at the moment, the Texans, who would have a top 5 pick, don't have a top 5 pick because they traded it to the Dolphins. So, along with their second round pick for Laramie Tunsil and Kenny Stills. Kenny Stills no longer being on the roster. The Titans take the win. They're the better team. The Texans can't get over their own struggles and will end up losing this game. Chargers, Chiefs. The Chiefs are resting a lot of their starters. Chargers don't really have much to play for. They're just playing for pride now. But pride is just enough to go get a win against a division opponent who thinks they're still going to be able to win without playing most of their starters. So, Chargers going to go in, try and get a win against the Chiefs, something they haven't done in forever. So we'll see if they can do it. Raiders, Broncos. The Raiders season was over a few weeks ago. The Raiders just couldn't finish out the season strong. The Broncos haven't done terrible these last few weeks. They lost a close one to the Chargers, but before that they were on a couple they were winning some games. I do think they close out the season with a win. I think the Broncos are going to play good defensive football against the Raiders. It's going to be a close game in which the Broncos will end up winning. Packers versus Bears, getting into the NFC games now. If the Bears win, they're in the playoffs. So the Bears need either to win or a Cardinals loss to make the playoffs. The Packers don't need to do anything. They do need a win, so they're playing their starters. They want the first round bye, so we'll see if they can take it, which I do think they will. The Packers are just that much of a better team. I think the Bears' offensive jump in the last few weeks has been kind of a fluke. They haven't necessarily faced a crazy defensive team. The Packers aren't crazy defensive, but they do have a better defense than the few that the Bears have played in recent weeks. Between the Texans, Vikings, and Lions, those teams, they don't have great defenses at all. So the Packers are definitely a tier up from that, at least. And I don't think Trubisky's going to be able to lead the Bears to a victory in that one. Vikings, Lions. Speaking of the Vikings and the Lions, two teams who over the last few years were expected to become better teams have not been able to do so. The Vikings fell short this year. The defense couldn't hold up, and the offense became inconsistent at times. And the Lions just are straight trash, which is why the Vikings will win. Kirk Cousins and Dalvin Cook will take over and run up the score on the Lions just to close out their season. Vikings started awful, tried to finish strong. They had a good midseason, but just couldn't close out the season with wins. But maybe they can in Week 17. Buccaneers, Falcons. These teams played 2 weeks ago, in which the Falcons had a pretty good lead over the Buccaneers and could not hold it and lost. It's just the story. So, the Buccaneers, they're without a couple of their starters. They're without Devin White, Shaquille Barrett, and there was someone else that they were without. They were just placed on COVID reserve list. So we'll see how that affects the Buccaneers defensively. I do think the Buccaneers still win. The Buccaneers just have too much offensive talent for the Falcons defense to be able to handle. Now, I know the Falcons handled the Chiefs pretty well, but the offenses are run differently in how they affected. The Buccaneers have more talent, I'd say, than the Chiefs' offense, but they run slower. The Chiefs are just gung-ho, chuck the rock everywhere. We're going to beat you all over the place super fast kind of offense. And the fact that the Falcons were able to slow that down is really good, but I don't think they're going to be able to stop the Bucs. The other NFC South matchup, the Saints versus the Panthers. The Saints ran up the score last week against I believe it was the Vikings. I'm forgetting already. But destroyed their opponent. And the Panthers, coming off of a win against Washington, in which I picked Washington to win. I thought the defense was going to be able to hold them, but the Panthers, although they only scored 20, the defense did its job in stopping Dwayne Haskins, who no longer has a job. What a waste of a career. Anyways, I do think the Saints will take the victory here. The Saints, easily the better team. It's not too much of a debate on that. Saints are still trying to play for number 1 seed. If the Packers lose and the Saints win, I think the Saints take it. So that's what they want to do. Saints want that number 1 seed for the bye, because I do still have the Saints as my Super Bowl winner, and I'm rooting for them to get that far. Getting into the NFC West, Seahawks versus the Niners. The Niners coming off of a win against the Cardinals, in which sent the Cardinals on a little bit of a spiral. And the Seahawks got a win against the Rams, in which Goff got injured. So the Seahawks just took the nice win there. I do think the Seahawks win. They are the better team. Though the Niners are they're very competitive, even though they've dealt with a lot of injuries this year. They've had a lot of pieces to have to rotate between. I do think the Seahawks just take it. The Seahawks, this is their time of year. They play for the playoffs, and this is their time to go get a win when they need it. Rams-Cardinals. If the Cardinals win this game and the Bears lose, the Cardinals in. If the Rams lose and the Bears win, and the Rams are out, Cardinals make it, Bears make it. If the Cardinals win and the Bears lose, both of these teams will make it. Just to put in perspective the NFC wildcard position right now. I do think the Cardinals win because the Rams are without Jared Goff in this game, which means they will be starting quarterback John Wolford, who has never started a game in his career. So I do think there's going to be some issues there. The Cardinals' defense is going to have a chance to take advantage of that. And as long as Kyler Murray's shoulder is doing decently, they won't have to do much to go through and beat the Rams. As tough of a defense as they have, Kyler Murray's going to scramble out of the pocket, away from Aaron Donald, away from that defensive pressure, and chuck it down the field to whoever is not being covered by Jalen Ramsey. Getting into the final 2 picks, the NFC East. Now, so to break down this division, if Washington wins, they take the division. If Washington loses, the winner of the Cowboys-Giants take the division. I do have the Cowboys winning. Andy Dalton has led the Cowboys to a few victories these last couple weeks. And though Joe Judge has done a great job bringing back this Giants team to a little bit of relevancy in the NFC East, I don't think it's going to come down, it's going to be close. Daniel Jones doesn't look like the future quarterback of this franchise, and they're going to have to make a decision on that next year. So we'll see if Daniel Jones can develop a bit more in the offseason, but he definitely is not ready to win in the spotlight right now. The 8 o'clock game of Sunday, Washington versus the Eagles. Like I said, if Washington wins, they take the division and the number 4 seed. And I do think that's going to happen. The Eagles are resting a lot of their injured players, just trying to not risk any more injuries, which means Jalen Hurts is going to be thrown into the fire with a lot of younger players who don't necessarily know the system too well, not the best talent, not the best teams yet, which means Chase Young and that defense is going to get after him, and they're going to absolutely pummel the Eagles' defense or offense. And then the Eagles' defense, as terrible as Washington's offense might be, because they might be starting quarterback Taylor Heinicke, it's going to be a close game, low scoring, but Washington is going to be able to pull through just because it's the Eagles. It's what they do. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you aren't already. Be greatly appreciated. Hope you all have a great end of your regular season football Sunday watching. In a few weeks, we'll get to the Super Bowl, not too far away now, and can't wait to finish out the season and then get started on some projects that I have in mind for the off season. But anyways, hope you have a great rest of your day. And although their season is over, let's root for the Patriots. Let's root for the Patriots to beat those Jets on Sunday.